episode 10, or we're on episode 10. I think maybe you're like our sixth guest, but we're still figuring some things out, but we get better every day. So it's all
Very
good.
good.
Alrighty. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Talk of the Trades, where we talk to experts, friends, and family in the home services industry to just help spread some knowledge of all the best minds in the business. Today, we have Jerold Hall with us. He is the VP of Sales and Dealer Development at AmCoat Industrial. He spent 17 years at Landrum HR. More importantly, though, he's an author and the founder of EggFest. And we'll talk about that a little bit more, Jerold, as well. So thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate you being here. You've been such an amazing advocate and champion for us. And, you know, it's really allowed us to, you know, not only grow our company, but our team. And so we really appreciate you and you always kind of being there for us, man.
I appreciate it, man. And listen, you guys do good work, or things like that don't happen, right? So I appreciate you having me on the show. I'm looking forward to chopping it up with you guys.
Awesome. So most importantly, you know, we'll talk about Rhino Shield because we want to talk about that and some of the other brands within your company. But more importantly, as you can tell, I'm a fan of food, right? And fishing. I know you're a big fisherman. And so, you know, we wanted to start off with a real important question on where is the best barbecue, right? And there is a right answer, Jerold. I'm just letting you know. Is it Texas?
Yeah.
Is it Memphis? Is it the Carolinas? Where?
Is it in my backyard? Is it? Yeah.
Okay, that could also be it. So,
Well,
in terms of
I'll
style of barbecue, where does your heart tend to lie? And then
I tell you, yeah,
uh,
my heart is, as I am a Texas barbecue guy. I like the Texas style. I love a good Carolina style pulled pork too. So it really is. It's regional. You know, as far as you want to get into the barbecue argument, I'm not getting into it. I'll tell you my preferences personally, and we'll be at Memphis in May at the World Barbecue Championships next week, and we'll be cooking some Texas style barbecue with briskets and shoulders, and we'll be cooking a little Iowa pork, so with a big bouquet on. So
okay, what's Iowa pork? I don't know. I don't think I've ever heard of Iowa pork.
Iowa's really known for being a pork producing state. It really is, and so we'll have some Compart Duroc shoulders from the great state of Iowa coming down.
Wow, man, my mouth is watering, and I just ate lunch. So, okay. So, what about barbecue sauce or no barbecue sauce? When is it appropriate?
Uh, if you do it right, you really don't need barbecue sauce, right? I think it's appropriate, particularly on a sandwich. You know, when you've got bread to deal with, it's certainly appropriate. But if you're just eating straight barbecue, man, sauce optional for sure.
Okay, love it, love it. Okay, we're gonna run through some of the meats to see where they kind of rank on your scale. So, turkey versus chicken.
Turkey.
Okay, turkey versus sausage.
Probably go sausage. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Sausage versus beef rib.
Beef rib. That's not even close.
Okay.
Yeah.
Beef rib versus pork rib.
Beef rib. Again, not even close. And I love a good pork rib. Yeah.
Okay. Beef rib versus a pork butt.
Beef rib's gonna win. Yeah.
All right, final one. Here's the championship. Beef rib or Texas style brisket.
Oh, definitely be Texas style brisket because you know they're not too god awful dissimilar, right?
Right.
But I'm gonna either eat a beef rib or I'm gonna eat a whole brisket. So you know the quantity's gonna take it over the top there.
Heck yeah, man. Well, I can't wait till you come back and visit and hang out so we can do our little barbecue tour because the list has been growing, man, since you've been here. I've just been keeping a catalog of stuff so we can go check it all out.
Very nice. I'll put it on the calendar, my friend.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thanks for answering all those questions, man. So now let's chat a little bit more about kind of overall just AmCoat, if you want to kind of give the quick elevator speech and how does the Rhino Shield brand kind of relate to it?
Yeah, so AmCoat's been around for almost 30 years now, and we manufacture high performance coatings, right? So Rhino Shield is a ceramic coating for the exterior of your home or business. And it comes with a 25-year guarantee, which is unlike anything in the paint industry. Paint's mostly water, right? And it evaporates and dries up, and you're left with some chalk and things like that. So Rhino Shield uses nanotechnology in the coating. It really is a unique product in the marketplace. Same with our Floor Shield product, which is 100% polyaspartic concrete floor coatings. So we manufacture high-tech coatings, roof coatings like Super Shield, and we take them to market through independent dealerships. So Anthony, for example, there in San Antonio, has been with us. Gosh, he's been around pushing 20 years, I think, between Dallas and San Antonio. And we've been taking ceramic coatings to the market for over 2 decades, and it's been a fun ride. It really has.
That's awesome, man. Love to hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so as you guys look for dealers, Dennis and I, we're all involved here at Leadhub, but we're really, really passionate about starting a Rhino Shield dealership in Shawnee, Oklahoma. So walk us through that 5-minute conversation to find out if we're the right fit for you.
Yeah, man. First and foremost, that's an open territory. Open territory. Yeah. So our Rhino Shield dealer, we've got a proven business model, right? So you need a few things to be successful as a Rhino Shield dealer. What you don't need to be is a painter. Our successful Rhino Shield and Floor Shield dealers are marketers and salespeople. Rhino Shield guys typically work with crews that are painters. A marketing person and a painter are very rarely the same thing. So Rhino Shield guys are savvy businessmen and women that know how to market and sell. And you guys know we provide them with a lot of those assets and brand guidelines and things of that nature. But at their core, you have to be able to market, generate leads, and sell the product. The installation's super critical and important. But the single most important thing to any home improvement business, single most important asset is leads. Absent that, it doesn't matter how good my product is or how good your installation is. If we don't have leads, we don't have a business. So we need more marketers. You need some cash, right? You need a little bit of money to get going. $75,000 to $100,000. It's not a franchise, so there's no startup, there's no franchise fee, there's no ongoing fees. But you need some money to market the product, and so it's a pretty straightforward program to become a dealer. But you need to be able to have some cash, be able to market and sell, and follow the system. Our successful Rhino Shield and Floor Shield dealers follow the proven methodology. It works. I promise you it does. We've been doing it for more than 2 decades, and we've got over 80 dealerships across the country, and we aggregate best practices. So those are kind of the core components of a successful Rhino Shield, particularly in Shawnee, Oklahoma.
Yeah, well, Aaron, looks like we're moving to Shawnee.
Yeah. I was just going to say I hate marketing, though, so I don't want to do marketing. So, I mean, do you run into dealers that don't want to do the marketing, and how does that conversation work? Do we immediately get DQ'd from your pipeline?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it really is that critical. We, if you can't find a good marketing partner, or don't have one in-house, we have a mixture, and we have some Rhino Shield dealers that are 20 plus years old. They've got in-house marketing folks. They also still outsource some of it. You can be successful with both, but it doesn't matter if it's in-house or outsourced. Marketing you have to be obsessed with marketing, and then you have to have people that can close sales in the home. And selling in the home is a little bit different. I've worked for Fortune 500 companies. I've worked for small and medium businesses, and I've worked door to door and selling in the home, and it is a unique animal, and we can teach you how to do it, but it is unique. So it's a lot of fun, and our guys have been doing this for a little over 25 years.
Nice. Jerold, you mentioned kind of that proven process that you guys have kind of mapped out. Can you give us a little insight into that secret sauce or that secret barbecue sauce that you guys cook up over there to kind of help your dealers?
Yeah, the cool thing about, I've been in sales since I was 14 years old, and that's 40 years ago Monday. But the cool thing about Rhino Shield and Floor Shield is there are substitutes, meaning there's paint, there's high build paint, there's other elastomerics, but there truly isn't anything like Rhino Shield in the marketplace. And we know this because we test our competitors' products. Right? We do this on both sides, independent third-party tests. So the big secret sauce for us is that we have the testing data that proves what we say. Home improvement, as you guys have heard me say, does not have the best reputation for honesty and transparency, right? Everybody's has a home improvement nightmare. My first house in 1997, I still remember the fence project, right? And so we try and be as transparent as possible. So when a Rhino Shield dealer can say, listen, don't take my word for it. You can listen to the BASF lab test or, MicroStar lab test that prove our product puts a 6.89 R value equivalent on the outside of your home. It's not me telling you that. And you can look at the 3M microspheres and see that the solar reflectivity rating, right, is 106 versus 100 for bright white paint. And that means that, you're going to have significant energy savings in particularly a Southwest Texas home in the summer when the outside of your walls are 10 or 20 degrees cooler. And so there's less heat transferring inside. So your air conditioner doesn't have to work. So Secret Sauce is superior product with the testing to back it up. Secret Sauce is that we have protected territories. We only distribute our products through our certified authorized dealerships. So we control the quality of the product and the quality of the person bringing that product to your home. And so it's not an anybody can get in the club kind of moment. We vet our guys pretty thoroughly, and we hold them to very high standards as you should, because it's a premium product. You pay a little more for it initially, but again, it'll save you thousands, if not tens of thousands over time by breaking that painting cycle and constantly painting your house or repairing your stucco and things of that nature. And then finally, it's the ability to stand behind the product. We didn't start last week. We've got video and testimonials of 20-year-old installations, and they still look great. And we're actually shooting some more in Chicago in 2 weeks. And it's really is a unique product that you can take to market. And as a salesperson and a business person, that's not common to be able to go to market with something that's truly different than anything else on the market.
Yeah. One of my favorite quotes that I heard of you when I was doing my research, Jerold, was you said, data removes the emotion from the conversation, right?
Yep.
And so, and I love the fact that you guys have data, around the brand and the product, but also, how you, challenge your marketing partners and make sure they have the data that matters for your dealers, right? In terms of lead count and other specific metrics like CPA and things like that. So I think, that's one thing we really just value about you overall as a partner. But I really loved, when you said that. Where did that kind of come from, that specific quote?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's a James Crane quote. I'll have to send him a copy of this. So my chief revenue officer, when I was at IMS, we found expert witnesses and trial consultants for the 400 largest law firms in the world. And it was truly a data-driven machine. That is, business development guys making 67 calls a day, client managers working heat map. It was data-driven, and it just doesn't lie. You can measure. You can move the things that you measure. So if my close rate is 28%, I want to get it to 29 and 30 and 40. And if my return on ad spend, I've got the dealers right now struggling with 3 to 5x return on ad spend. That's not going to cut it in this day and age, right? We look for 8 as a floor on return on ad spend, especially in the digital side of things. Traditional advertising still in there, but we work with our dealers and hold them accountable, right, for what they do with the leads when you guys create them, and we hold our marketing partners accountable for creating those leads and creating quality leads. And we work together to get that return on ad spend up. And we have some dealers that are, operating in the 30 and 40x return on ad spend with their digital spend. And that's fantastic. There is no cap to that, in my opinion, but we try and use data to manage relationships. And we have good relationships with a lot of our partners. But at the end of the day, it's about performance, and that's the sales guy in me. We are always held to performance standards, and it should be no different for every position in the cycle of a business.
Yeah. You mentioned how you guys work with your dealers and those metrics, and a lot of people talk about the carrot or the stick. And are there any kind of dealer awards that you guys do, or any kind of ceremonies, things like that annually to try to help them with the carrot? Because we know where the stick can come from. But
Yeah.
what's the carrot? What do you guys do from a culture standpoint?
Yeah, well, ultimately, the ultimate carrot is that they make more money, right? And they're building a business that is a saleable asset, right? We've had several transactions in our Rhino Shield world as dealers have chosen to exit and cash in on all the hard work they've put in. So I've never been an operator that liked the stick methodology much. That usually the data usually takes care of that and it takes care of itself. But yeah, we have dealership performance awards. We have quality awards, and we have a dealer trip every year that we take our top performing dealers. I think last year was in St. Martin,
Oh,
and
nice.
before that it was Barbados and St. Lucia before that, and so we're working on Op Alabama for coming up for 25. So they got the rattlesnake rodeo there, and I know Aaron, you're a big fan of snakes, so
yeah, stay away from that. Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
Jerold, just so you know, I do have a valid passport, and if you ever need somebody to tag along and give any sort of presentation, we're here for you, man. So.
I'll let you explain to my wife Becky how you're going to be my plus one, Dennis.
All right, all right. So Gerald, the other thing, it's interesting. Talk to us about like the dealer model versus the franchise model, and kind
Yeah,
of your overall thoughts there.
it's funny. I actually shot a vertical short on this morning.
Nice.
Franchises are a very proven methodology, and there's nothing wrong with franchises. They've been around forever in just about every vertical. The big difference is, you're gonna have a franchise fee that we've seen range from 25,000 to 150,000, depending on which model you get into from different painting companies. I think CertaPro says you need about 248 liquid last time I looked to get
Wow.
going. So that's a big investment, but it also comes. It's a turnkey product, man. It really is. And then they're going to get you for 3 to upwards of 12%. We've seen in the marketplace for ongoing franchise fees. So 3% of your revenues to 12% of your revenues, based on the types of service. 3 to 6 is the most common range. But if you subscribe to software and you use their call center and you use their lead gen, they can get pricey. And if they perform, then that's a cost of doing business, right? That you have to come to terms with. With our dealership model, I'm very transparent. You guys know this. We make our money on our product. We make a fair margin on our product, and our dealers have minimum purchase requirements based on their geography and their tenure with us, right? And so it's a pretty stable recurring model for us. There's no franchise fee. There's really no upfront cost. Your deposit goes towards product credit, right? So you're pre-purchasing. 75% of your deposit goes to product credit that you already have, and the rest goes to cover. It's a $20,000 deposit, right? By the way, so it's not a big number at all, and 15 of that is product credit for your business. The real expense in getting this going is the marketing. So once we have a new dealer, we just brought on Jeff up in the Bay Area. You come to training here in Pensacola and Destin, and not too shabby places to visit for training. And then we go through the program, the advertisements, the brand guidelines, the soup to nuts on how to sell it, how to install it, and then we go to work together. So versus the franchise model, which very similar. We're as close to a franchise as we can get from a support standpoint, and you can ask our dealers about that. Many of them also have other franchises, and I'll stand our sales and marketing and installation support up against anybody in the country. But we make our money on product, and if we do it right, we all make good money. We have for a little over 25 years.
Yeah. I know, Gerald, when you first kind of, or one of your biggest projects that, for Rhino Shield was, making sure that you guys had a brand story and had assets for dealers and all that. And so walk us like through that process and kind of, what was your like aha moment to say, hey, like we really need to be able to support in these areas so our dealers can be successful.
Yeah, so our group purchased AmCoat in 2021 from the original owner, a guy named Steve Dominic, who built a very good, very profitable company, or we wouldn't have purchased it. But what we noticed and what we heard, we listened to our dealers. We had focus groups with our dealers and said, what can we do? We didn't buy this business to keep it the same size, right? We bought it to grow it and expand it, and we wanted to. The strength of our business is our dealership network. what can we do? And first and foremost, they're like, give us some marketing support. Our guys are good marketers, but at the end of the day, they're small business, independent small businesses. We're a veteran-owned company. We manufacture our products in the U.S. and we take it to market with local small business owners, and it's a really cool, gratifying business model that we have. So what they said is we need marketing support, and so we worked with my good friend Veronique and Destin over here in Pensacola, a group called Hatchmark Studio, and we said, first, do no harm, right? The Rhino brand and the Rhino logo and the Rhino mark is strong, and it's got 25 years worth of that. And anything we do to change that has downstream impacts to 40 plus dealers. So what we found through focus groups, and we worked with Doug at Red Iron Design and several other folks collaborated on this. We said we don't need to change the logo. The logo's strong, the brand is strong. We just didn't have enough assets behind that logo. So we created an entire library of video assets and print-driven assets and social media assets, so that when you come on as a new dealer, there's an entire library, and we just shot 8 more today of long-form video, short-form video, long-form written content, advertisements, so home show magazine templates, social media ad templates, copy for those. We have AdWords for when you go to market. These are the words that search words and for PPC campaigns that work, and for different substrates. And so it really is, when I say it's as close to a franchise as you can get, we're pretty proud of it.
Awesome.
Yeah, but I hear a lot with the franchise model, and we've got some franchises we love that we work with that we think are doing it right. There are some others that we typically hear things where they are typically talking to their franchisees, and once they ink the deal, here's all the stuff you can't do. It seems like that mindset shift is completely flipped with you guys, of really trying to energize the local dealer and giving them as much as you can to be successful.
Yeah, I think it's important. It's a distributed model is challenging, right? Our livelihood is dependent on the success and prosperity of folks that don't work for us. So I mean that's a unique model. I've worked in it with Southern Company and Motorola, and I've worked with it here. But if you care about the relationships, right, and you care about Anthony in San Antonio, and you put boots on the ground and you go and you work with them and you roll your sleeves up with your dealers, it's a lot of fun, man. My CEO still thinks I'm crazy because I like to work home shows with my dealers. I'll go work a Saturday, right? It was just up in Rochester in March. But, I can talk to 400, 500 homeowners in a day, and I can test out phrasing, and I can, the psychology of words is really important when you're selling, and it's really important when you're telling stories. And that's what you guys do. It's what we do. And being able to test out phrases and test out, pitches, and then model that behavior. My Rochester dealer was just at the end of year 1 of being a floor guy, and never done a home show. So we rolled up to Rochester in March. It was awesome. It was cold, but we had a great time, and we had great success at the show. And so you get to model the behavior for a new dealer or newer dealer. And also get to talk to the customers and get feedback on is what we're saying still resonating with them. And we learn from homeowners when we do that, right? Of, you know what? It's really not about paint and stucco. It's about protecting it. Everybody that came up here said they were looking for something to protect their stucco. So let's make sure we message that. So it serves both sides. Yeah.
Yeah. What's cool about that is kind of this segues into kind of the next topic we want to chat with you about. It's the kind of they ask, you answer mentality, right? And we've seen this work so well for brands like Rhino Shield because, Rhino Shield is not the price leader in the market, right? We have a premium product that's going to last you. It's not paint, right?
Yeah.
And so right off the bat, there's that potential hurdle from price because we know it's always on somebody's mind. And I love with the they ask you answer model is we're upfront about that, right? We tell you right out the gate. And I think some of our other clients or brands are afraid to do that. But what I've heard, and you probably know better than me on this, Jerold, is that, a lot of times your sales team loves that because they know when they're going into a home, a lot of these times these people are pre-qualified already and they would have disqualified themselves after understanding what it was per square foot versus somebody else. So I guess twofold from a sales perspective, how does this model help your sales guys? And then part two of the question, holistically from a marketing perspective, how do you think it impacts the dealer?
Yeah, our dealers were terrified, quite honestly, that we were going to start talking about it. And when Marcus came down to Marcus Sheridan, who wrote the book, I've worked with Marcus and read his book almost 9 years ago. When I saw him he came to a Vistage meeting in 2016, I think, and we implemented this at Landrum HR as well. And so it really is. It's such common sense at the end of the day when you're done with the journey. But when you're starting the journey, to be completely transparent about price, it's scary until you realize that the information's already there and the customers can find it. So the question is, do you want to be the one in control of that narrative?
Yeah.
And giving a thorough, well thought out. We don't just say, hey, Rhino Shield's going to be $6 to $9 a square foot. You got to go into the reasons that it might be 6 and the reasons that it might be 9, right? And at the end of the day, homeowners have 5 questions that every homeowner has 5 questions. And it's how much does this stuff cost? Does this stuff really work? Can I get it in any color? Tell me about the installation process. And then finally the warranty, right? And if you get them to that 5th place, you're in a pretty good place. They've got a lot of information. We see customers take 6, 8, 12, 18 months of a journey on our website before they say, I want a quote. It's an education process. So we start that conversation by putting a buyer's guide right on our front page of our website.
Yeah.
That answers those 5 questions in detail. And you can read it or you can watch it in long form video. Video is 7 minutes. That article or video combination 71 times a day. Consumers read it for almost 5 minutes average time on page.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
people tell me I'm crazy. People tell me I'm crazy for doing long form video. But if the consumer is interested, they will watch it as long as it takes to get the message across. So from a standpoint of, our dealers were nervous about it, but what they saw was, we saw a little bit of a drop in leads, but we saw a dramatic increase in close rates. So from the sales guy's standpoint, I walked into a home in North Florida with the dealership, and the guy he jogged. He was a runner, so he naturally, but he jogged out of his house. He had the buyer's guide printed out. His wife wasn't there, so a one-legger in home improvement nobody likes, right? Mm-hmm. He wrote us a check that day. He'd already had 3 colors put on the side of his house, and he had notes all over that buyer's guide that he printed out that were questions from his wife. So if you're afraid to answer the questions in print or in video, why would you be afraid to answer those questions when you answer them one-on-one with a customer, right? You answer the question, because if you don't answer the question, they don't move on. If you don't answer the cost question, that's the first thing they ask you in the home show booth, or how much does it cost? I want to know how much it costs. You have to answer the question to be able to continue the conversation. So initially our guys were terrified, quite honestly. And we were a little uncertain ourselves. How would the customers respond? But when we came to the agreement as an ownership group and a management team that this is what we're doing, man, it was just like a big relief. And so we've seen, a dramatic increase in organic leads versus paid leads, right? Because consumers are searching for problems. Like, what is the best exterior coating for stucco? By the way, if you ask that to Chat GPT, I got it, and I got it for brick, and I got it. So that content's, we got a guy sold a job in Birmingham the other day. They said, hey, Chat, what's the best concrete floor coat? And Chat said, by far, Floor Shield. So, we're feeding that content beast too for our dealers. But if you don't answer the questions, I looked up a restaurant, getting tire quotes. And my friends up the road, I won't mention their names, One Always Tires. But, when I punch in, I go through the trouble of punching in 265, 60, 20, right, for my tire size. And I want to see 70,000 mile rated tires and up. And then it says, call for price.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Man, I just went on Tire Rack, and I just went on so-and-so. There's 1,000 places that will answer these questions. And if you're not one of them, man, they're friends, but I didn't get a quote from them. Yeah. That's the reality of it is if you don't answer the most commonly asked questions, and then you go into things like what affects it? Well, the size of your house affects price. Right. The complexity of your house, the type of siding can impact it. How many stories is it? So there's all these things. Is there damage to the siding? Is there a lot of repairs? How many colors are you going to get? There's 1,000 things that impact the variability of getting your house coated with Rhino Shield. But at the end of the day, we know 99% of them are going to fit in that range of that 6 to 9. And 9 means you're probably getting some repair work and some other things, you know. And 6 means you got a pretty straightforward house. It doesn't need a lot of stuff. So at the end of the day, it's been a wonderful journey for us, and we continue to do it, and we continue to create content. We continue to answer customers' questions because new ones come up, right? We're answering questions now about tariffs, right? Big paint companies are dealing with a lot of imported coatings and imported products for coatings. Rhino Shield's made right here in the U.S. We are not raising prices this year, and we see, in fact, many of our dealers are getting a little more creative with their pricing because everything's getting more expensive, right? So homeowners having to make a decision, and we don't want you to delay protecting your house because of the economic uncertainty. So they all offer financing, and same as cash and all those things. So we've seen an increase in financing jobs for sure.
And I think with the way the AI search, has really grown, and the way that it's handling these questions, the geolocation and the proximity of the searcher is less relevant than it was, 6 months ago. And so
Yep.
we're not answering those questions. Somebody else is. And most of the AI search bots are not paying attention to geolocation as much as they used to. So I love that philosophy there.
Yeah. The other thing I was going to ask you, Jerold, and so, I think the answer is certainly important, but the other part of it is the why and how you answer it, right? Because if you just tell
Sure.
somebody, oh, our product is 3 times more expensive than paint, but then like you got to take that next step and answer, the why. And that's the
Yeah.
beauty of your brand is you have all that data and information. So it goes back to that, and you can really kind of explain. But do you see where have you seen the most success in explaining that why and making sure that you're nuanced in how you explain the answer?
Yeah, man. So to me, I mean, it took me almost 3 years to put Rhino Shield on my house because it's a project, man. Painting your house is not easy. And even if you're not the one doing it, I actually applied my own because I wanted to learn. I wanted to be able to do that. But it's a pain. You got to cut bushes back. You got to take windows. You got to trench around the house. It's inconvenient, right? My wife does not like the blinds down in the house. She likes a nice bright house, and you got to tape up those windows and do everything. And I'm cutting bushes back and it's an inconvenient process. So part of that why is do it once and be done with it. Not only is it going to save you time and money, it's a big investment. It's protecting what is likely your largest investment, your home. That's Art and Maria said in our brand video, they said your home's your biggest investment. Why wouldn't you want to protect it, right? But then at the end, the selfish part of it is I don't have to go through that project 3 or 4 times in that same cycle, man. And if you think that labor or materials are going to get less expensive in the future, I'd challenge you on that one a little bit.
Yeah, awesome. The other thing you mentioned is that Rhino Shield is made in America, and I think that's something that is overlooked in any products, these days. So I just wanted to highlight that. I think that's very cool, and talk about a major benefit when we're in this time of kind of some uncertainty with tariffs and things like that.
Yeah.
Have you guys leaned into that messaging a little bit more, or?
100%. We actually shot videos this morning for both product lines that talk about that. It's important. I'm proud that we manufacture in the USA. I'm proud that we are veteran owned. We're a service disabled veteran owned small business designation. So those are the 2 things I'm just personally proud of. But the beauty of part of that business model is that even things like during COVID, right? Sherwin-Williams couldn't get 43% of their SKUs on the shelf. Our Rhino Shield dealers did not go without product. We only distribute it through our dealership network, and we control our supply chain by and large. Now, did we have to go buy $100,000 worth of X raw material and get into the start a 3PL company to get into shipping? Yep, we did. But we made sure we did, and we learned a lot from it. And our guys and girls didn't go without product, and that was a huge thing during COVID, right? To be able to distribute our product that way. And there's just a pride factor of doing it, manufacturing things here in the U.S. We could offshore it and save some money, but it's not worth the hassle, and it's not worth the uncertainty, and certainly not worth diluting our message, right?
Yeah.
So we can do a Made in America campaign over the next 60 days, and the highlight is July 4th.
Yeah.
And you're going to have a barbecue and a fishing competition and a beer Olympics, all celebrating America.
Heck yeah.
Hey, that's the same weekend as the Pensacola Big Game Billfish Tournament. So yeah, we can make that happen. You guys come down. We'll have a fireworks show right here outside the office, and some barbecue and cold beer. I have no problem with that.
That's awesome. That'd be a ton of fun, man. Yeah, Jerold, you're gonna have to send us those videos. And you spoke about that buyer's guide earlier, and we launched a whole campaign for Anthony around that. And we're starting to see a slow, steady, folks, and but the other beautiful thing about it is you talked about that buyer cycle before. Sometimes it's 12 to 16 months before somebody actually gets action, right? And so one of the things where we pivoted a little bit, well, yeah, we're still focusing on lead gen. We needed to also try to build some folks into our funnel so we can remarket them and help them through that education process. And so you guys create incredible content. I love the corporate side. You have so much information and knowledge on there, and it just makes our lives easier. So appreciate that. But yeah, you're gonna have to send us your new videos, because we've been wearing out the ones with Anthony and you, and some of the ones with you solo. And so it's been working effectively for us. And so the other thing I wanted to talk about a little bit more is like, how do you, so for other contractors out there, and specifically like, Rhino Shield dealers, you understand the value of marketing and branding, and, but even more so for a product like this, because, we work in multiple areas of the trade. So if you're, for an HVAC company, it's more like demand service a lot of times, right? It's
Right.
like AC went out, it's 100 degrees, I need you today. Plumber, my toilet's backed up, I need you today. When we work with like water filtration companies and exterior home remodeling companies, we find that sometimes it's a little bit harder to let our clients know, like, hey, we got to be in it for the long haul and invest in the marketing long term, and measure what we can from a brand awareness standpoint, whether it's direct traffic or increase in search in your branded keywords. So what's your philosophy on that overall? And like when you're talking to your dealer partners, what are some of the things you're letting them know to help prep them for like the journey that they're going to be going on?
Yeah, it's about a well-rounded marketing campaign, right? There are industries like in the floor side, you can get away with just doing meta ads in the concrete floor coatings business. It's got a limit on what you're going to get from, but you can build a good business just doing meta. You really should be doing meta in Google, right? And you really should also be doing home shows. You probably want to be doing some radius mailers around your jobs and things like that. But a well-rounded message, is nothing new. That has been, it's been an interesting journey, and I've shared this with you guys. For years, Rhino Shield guys and girls, radio, TV, print, home magazine, and we're good to go. And that is just not the case. We've had markets, Boston, for example, Cincinnati, where just overnight the radio and TV stopped working. And if you didn't have a good foundation into the digital world of Google and Meta, it's been a really hard pivot for a lot of folks, which is one of the reasons we're creating this content, so that we can try and make it easier on them. But finding marketing partners that understand that, yes, I think clicks and impressions are important when you can correlate them to how many leads did it generate.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, it's about lead generation. And all of that works together. Anthony's still doing some radio and some TV. It's working okay for him. As long as you're getting a good return on ad spend. But those things feed each other. Where dealers have a good, well-rounded marketing campaign, guess what? Their digital has done really well right out of the gate, because they're here. So there's different audiences, right? Broadcast TV, radio. Everybody's hearing that, right? And it's kind of like a display ad on Google or Meta, right?
Yeah.
But lead ads are very different. Google's an intent-based search. People are looking at it, and so is chat, and the second largest search engine that's not a search engine in YouTube. People are, and now TikTok, is picking up on that. So you got to have the content there, and you got to have a well-rounded messaging. But it's a different lead. When we see Meta leads, for example, they're much higher in the funnel. They're still in the awareness and interest part of that sales funnel. Google guys are down in the middle to the bottom because they got a problem they're trying to solve, right? And so that's setting expectations on the types of leads and the efficacy of those leads. Like what percentage of meta leads are actually going to talk to you, right? That's a training moment for folks who are used to talking to 8 out of 10 because they called my office or they filled out a form on my website. So it's been a journey, but it's about a good, well-rounded campaign, and it's about watching the metrics. You can't watch your marketing campaigns on a monthly basis anymore. You just can't. You got to look at them daily. I mean, I legitimately look at dashboards daily with my guys. So yeah.
Yeah, well, we try to explain it as like, there's an awareness component, right? First, we got to let everybody know we exist and, what we do, right? And then from there, it's like, okay, how do we generate some consideration, right? So we move them down a little bit more, we get them to the site, get them to download a buyer's guide, and then eventually, how do we convert them once they finally decide to reach out to us?
Yep.
And so, and that's where we have to rely on our, clients. And, the thing that we love about, Anthony in particular and you two is how much you guys understand the importance of close rates and, things like that as well, because our job is to get your phone to ring and those forms to come in. But you guys know, like your call sales representatives need to book those calls, and then eventually your salesmen need to close those deals. And so, how do you look at that journey overall, and how do you help like educate your dealers? Because one of the big things is, we talk about marrying marketing and operations, and we were born in the trades, and so we understand how important it is to answer calls and book them and close those sales. Do you often go down that path with your dealers?
Yeah, man, we've had several dealers entering into the digital marketing world for the first time. All right. Having success, Dallas, for example, in March and April, over 200 leads from the digital world, right? That's just very low sit rates, right? So the lead setters in that tradition that are used to traditional, they're not making, you have to treat leads that come in from a digital creation like Google and Meta, they're different leads, so you have to set different expectations, right? If you can get 30% of Meta leads to talk with you and have an appointment, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
We've got a leader in the clubhouse for us right now is at 32, and he's really good at what he does. And so you've got to set some expectations that these leads are going to convert differently. Now, the long game will be how many of those 70% that didn't respond initially actually come back through retargeting over time, right? But there's 30% they'll turn up month one if you've got a brand like Rhino Shield or a brand like Floor Shield. We see right out of the gate, we see success with digital campaigns that are well done, well crafted, and monitored. But it's going to be interesting to see that long game. And again, with Google, if you can get 40 to 50% of Google leads to talk with you, man, we've seen high 40s and 50s in our marketplace. And then if somebody calls your office, man, or fills out a form on your website or mine, we had a dealer, 8 leads that came through for one of our dealers in the Northeast, and all 8 of them sold. They came through our website. I wish it was 100% like that, but that just happened to be a good batch. But they came through our website, and we go back and track them, and they've consumed 6 or 8 pieces of long form content. Yeah. And they talk about the shortcomings. That they read the articles like the limitations of stucco as an exterior finish, and they read the article about the 98-mile-an-hour wind-driven rain test, and they watch the comprehensive guide, and they look at customer testimonials, and then they go through this journey. And man, when they come to our website and fill out a form, they're happy to get those leads, right? They're very happy to get those leads.
So I got an interesting question for you, Jerold. So after they've gone through the journey and they reach out to you, what's the weirdest kind of or most unexpected use case that somebody has asked you for Rhino Shield? Like, have you ever had a guy reach out and like, yeah, I want to paint my car in Rhino Shield,
Yeah, we probably have. I haven't had a car guy. Houseboat. Yeah. Can we put this on a houseboat? I'm like, I don't know that I'm going to warranty a houseboat, but you can paint whatever you want with it, man. You can coat whatever you want with it. But yeah, we get some, we get some unique things like fences and things like that, and we've got a stain product that we make for decks that would work on that. But yeah, most of them are pretty vanilla by comparison. But we've painted some pretty cool projects. Like we put Rhino Shield on the NASCAR wind tunnel because nothing else would stay on it. We the Los Angeles Motor Speedway.
Okay.
We've done some Simon Mall projects and the Martin Luther King Center in Atlanta, a Veterans Center in St. Louis. So we've done some really cool projects over the years.
Nice.
Yeah, let's do some golf balls before the Masters and just say that it'll take your golf ball, your drive will go 600 yards, and see who buys it.
Yeah. That's not a bad idea. Or we could just go to the Masters, you know.
Yeah, that's
that would be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, got to sign up for that lottery. So Jerold, tell us about some of the other brands and products. So we know about Rhino Shield. You mentioned we've been talking about the roof product you guys have and the flooring. Tell us a little bit more about those.
Yeah, so Super Shield is our roof product. It's very, very similar to our DFC, which is our exterior wall product. But particularly in the desert Southwest, man, you got a lot of tile roofs out there, and those tile roofs fade and they soak up heat. If you think of like even cement board and stucco and that terracotta tile, I mean, they just soak up heat. And that heat, you can measure the outside of a wall, and that's one measure of it, but you measure the inside, how much heat transfers from there, right? So when you can put a almost a 7 R value equivalent on your walls and on your roof, right? Not only is it going to last for 15 years on your roof, 25 years on your walls, but it's going to insulate it and protect it. And you guys don't have, knock wood, you don't have hurricanes out there, but you get some pretty gnarly storms in the summertime. And, we get, again, this product stands up to the 98-mile-an-hour wind-driven rain test is a pretty cool one. They take our product, they put it on a cement block, they put it in a chamber, and they shoot a jet of water at it, 98-mile-an-hour jet of water for 24 hours.
Wow.
And if it gets past the product, it's pass-fail test, right? Gets past it, it's out. Well, Rhino Shield, not only did it pass the wind-driven rain 98-mile-an-hour part, but they also test it for absorption, because if it doesn't get past it, but it soaks up all the water, that's not great either. And we had 0.4, less than 1/2 of 1% absorption rate after 24 hours of 98-mile-an-hour wind-driven rain. It's a good product, I promise you. So we got the roof product. We've got a Protect Deck product. That's a coating for decks, and then we make a Floor Shield, which is our other primary brand, which is a high solids, 100% polyaspartic garage floor coating, and we take that to market the same way with dealerships across the U.S. See me for open territories. But it's cool, man. We manufacture premium coatings because I can't compete with the big guys, right? They've got a great business model, planned obsolescence. You're buying my product every 5-7 years. Awesome. You're putting epoxy down every 2 to 3 years. Awesome. That's great for them. It's not great for the environment. It's not great for the homeowner. It's not great for, I've painted my house 7 or 8 times in 30 years before I found Rhino Shield. It seemed like every 2 or 3 years I was redoing the trim at least. But it's so we've created a disruptive product for both markets, right? And we take it to market with data that, I asked a homeowner in Rochester, said, well, Apollo's Concrete's been around for 30 years. I said, and they are very good people. They've got a great reputation. They don't have this product. I said, but get a quote from them and then ask them these 3 things. Ask them what their adhesion is, and don't take their word for it, because home improvement doesn't have the best reputation, right? Ask them for the testing data. And I said, they won't have it. And she's, how do you know? I said, because I've tested their product and I beat them. And I wouldn't show you the test results if I didn't win, right? Yeah. So, ask them for the testing results. Rhino Shield, Floor Shield, Super Shield. Ask your painter for the test results, and you'll win every time.
Very cool. Love it that you guys have all that data. So, awesome, Jerold. So, getting close to wrapping up here, let's talk about some fishing. So, Aaron wanted to know, have you ever bow fished?
I bow fished when I was a teenager. We used to have off of Pensacola Bay, Scambia Bay. We would have this little inlet where we would get. You guys probably don't eat mullet in Texas, but we eat them here and they're delicious. But we would get big mullet. And we would go down with a bow and arrow and we'd shoot those mullet. Yeah. So I did a little bit of bow fishing, but not much.
Okay, is bow fishing like gigging or?
It's where you
Bow and arrow.
go in the water and you use the bow and arrow.
Oh,
and
okay.
You shoot them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
Matt
takes
said-
I have gigged flounder as well. We've done some gigging. Yeah.
Really?
What-
Is that what it's called?
So-
What's gigging?
Gigging is more where you just have like a rod and you just stab them.
Yeah, you got a 3-point spear and you're standing on the bow of a flats boat at night with lamps and the flounder when they run out in the fall and winter. It's kind of adrenaline rush, you know. It's just a different way of catching them. Yeah.
What kind of fishing are you doing these days, Jerold? I know you're a deep sea guy, and you just sometimes I don't know, go out in your backyard and just cast a line for fun, or.
Yeah, most of my fishing these days is usually bottom fishing, snapper fishing, things like that. We did competitive offshore fishing for over 20 years, and it's a young man's game. We still go offshore and troll a bit, tuna fish and things like that. But most of my fishing is going to be within 20 miles these days. So yeah.
Okay. And how'd you get the nickname Buck? Was that a fishing thing or just?
Man, I wish I could tell you, but I asked my mom, and for many times she goes, I don't remember. We just started calling you Buck. So I really wish I had a cool story, and I probably ought to come up with one.
Okay, cool. Can we call you Buck?
Absolutely.
All
Absolutely.
Love
I've got one more that's really important and near and dear to my heart. Mayonnaise and mustard based potato salad.
Oh.
It's mayo. It's a baked potato style potato salad all day, man.
Oh,
Oh, it
see.
hurt.
Yeah.
That was great meeting you, Buck.
Yeah. Now I've had some very good mustard potato salad, but if I had to pick, my preference is mayo. Mayo, very little mayo, a little sour cream,
Yeah.
maybe some crema.
I don't discriminate on any sort of carb. So
Hey, as long as it's good, man, that's what matters. You can, we cook on big green eggs, but you can make good barbecue on anything if you know what you're doing, and you can make good potato salad if you know what you're doing with mustard or with mayo. But one thing I will not vacillate on, and I will not waver on, is that ketchup does not deserve to be on a hot dog or a hamburger. It's a vile condiment. It's only meant for potatoes that are fried. And if you put ketchup on a hot dog, you'll anger me.
we got to remember that one.
Ketchup, mustard, and relish for me. That's
Yeah.
Oh man.
My wife's favorite thing on a hot dog, by the way, is ketchup. We can peacefully coexist, but I can't take it. It's wrong.
When is Egg Fest this year, Jerold?
Yeah, so Egg Fest is this year is it's the weekend after the Blue Angels homecoming show. It's November 14th to the 16th. So we're excited, man. It's this is 23. Yes, it's year 13 for us, and so it's going to be our biggest year. Yeah, last year was our biggest year ever. Every year we've kind of grown it with different teams. You guys should come over from Texas, man. To be a nice road trip. We'll put you in. We might even let you judge if you want. You can go sample everything, right?
Hey, if I can be a judge, I will be there, Jerold. I will be there, sir.
Bet, Dennis, it's on.
all right.
Cool. We'll need to make a donation this year because I know last year you guys raised 131 grand, and from our earlier conversation, you guys are approaching the $1 million mark. That's massive. So tell us a little bit about just the charitable efforts there and kind of what y'all been able to do over the years.
Yeah, man, we are so fortunate. My buddy Doug and Lisa and I started this, but we do about 20 charity events a year now. So it's not just the weekend, right? We just cooked it. We just cooked at the Children's Hospital, and one of the things, we're funding a facility dog for the Children's Cancer Center. So we get to take something. We're a bunch of knuckleheads, man, that like to barbecue and drink beer and bourbon and things like that. And we get to take a hobby that we love to do anyway and turn it into something we can use to raise money for charities and impact folks. We've been very fortunate. This community is what makes it happen. I mean, we have people come from all over the country to the event. Michael comes in from New Zealand. He's going to be our guest pitmaster again this year. He's coming back from New Zealand. He's got 3 barbecue restaurants over in New Zealand, and he flies over. We buy his ticket, right? But he flies over for a week and he busts his tail and cooks for 600 people at our VIP event, right? And Mo comes down from Iowa, and Slade comes in from Arkansas, and people come, the barbecue family, man, they come down and they do it because they know that what we're doing makes a difference in the community. and it's been a lot of fun. And we're very fortunate to get to do it.
Shoot, man, we're about to move to a new office. So, Aaron, what's the chances we can get a green egg? Because we can start practicing now, get it together before November. Instead of judging, let's compete.
It's high.
Yeah.
We got
The challenge has been thrown down, and I accept. Yeah, I would love to have you guys over. We have a group from the Burn Shop up in Wichita Falls that come down. They've been down 5 or 6 times. They create really cool fire pits and things like that. It's a metal fab shop. But those guys cook. They came down with their burrito tacos one year, man. They were straight fire. So bring some San Antonio to Pensacola. We'd love to have it. We'll get you a hotel on the beach. We've got some awesome hotel partners that work with us, and we will have a good time and eat lots and lots of food.
Heck yeah. Well, Jerold, thanks so much, man. We really appreciate you just joining us, being on the show. If anybody's interested in becoming a Rhino Shield partner or dealer, what's the best way for them to kind of reach out to you?
Yeah, so you can go to rhinoshield.com, and there's a become a dealer page. That hopefully we've answered all of your questions up there. You can download the presentation and see what it looks like. My information's there. You can reach out to me directly. Same with Floor Shield. If concrete coatings is your jam and you don't want to get into paint, floorshield.com. Again, everything right there. We've got lots of content for you to consume to see if it's a good fit for you, because not everybody is cut out to be their own boss. I mean, I went into business for myself, and in a couple of years learned that, man, I really don't like this solo practitioner style, right? It's a different animal. So we try and be as upfront and transparent as we can about who's a good fit and who's not. Because at the end of the day, if we're 12 months into this and you haven't made any money and I haven't sold any product, that's a worst case scenario for both of us. So we want to bring people in with wide open eyes to the opportunity, and we have lots of good success stories. And I mean, we have some that didn't turn out so well, right? That's the nature of starting a business. It's a risk, but we've got such a track record of it. We have way more wins than losses in it. And so just go rhinoshield.com or floorshield.com and give me a call.
Very cool. Well, Aaron and I got dibs on Shawnee, so we'll follow the on that one.
Yeah, I've got Tulsa taken care of, but Shawnee's open, man. Shawnee's open. So.
Nice. Well, hey, thanks again for also just being such a great partner to us and having trust in us and believing in us. We really appreciate it, and can't wait to see you when you come down to San Antonio. We'll make our little tour to barbecue. Maybe even hit some place where we can go drink some bourbon. Rebecca Creek's out here and a couple other spots, so we'll make it a full field trip day, man.
I will not be opposed to that. We'll see you guys soon, and thanks for having me.